Hey there. Get ready to dive deep with us as we explore AI in finance, specifically its ethical side. You know, we're cracking open this book, Ethical Profits, Navigating the Future of Artificial Intelligence in Finance. It's a bit dense, got to be honest.
Yeah, dense is a good word for it.
But we're going to break it down, don't you worry.
I think it's interesting, though, how the book, right off the bat, kind of throws down a challenge. It asks this big question, like, are we, heading towards a future in finance where AI automation is completely unchecked, or
Okay.
can we steer it, right? Can we steer AI towards a future where it's used responsibly, ethically?
Yeah, unpack that a bit. It sounds like this Ethical Profits book, they're giving us, a whole new way to think about AI in finance.
Absolutely. They introduce this idea of 7 directives, almost like guiding principles. Although, and this is where it gets kind of cool, they don't actually reveal what all the directives are.
Oh, playing coy now.
A little bit, yeah. Like they're building suspense.
Yeah, they've got my attention for sure.
Yeah.
But, even without, the fine print on each directive, it's obvious this book is saying AI in finance isn't just about, efficiency or profits. It's about the human impact.
100%. The book argues that AI is changing, the very core of how finance works, and that means a huge responsibility to consider the people involved. It's not just about the algorithms and data, it's about the ethics of how those algorithms and data affect real people.
Which brings us to this big idea Ethical Profits keeps coming back to, how important human judgment still is, even as things get more automated.
Right, and it's not just a vague, humans are important thing. They give this very specific example, right? A big investment firm using an AI system to analyze market trends, and the AI, get this, recommends a huge investment in one particular sector. But thankfully, one of the senior analysts, a human, they noticed some red flags that the AI missed completely.
Oh.
Right? So they dig deeper and realize the AI was fooled by this really subtle anomaly in the data. Had they just blindly followed the AI, disaster. Billions gone.
Okay, so that's a cautionary tale if I ever heard one.
Yeah.
Really drives home why we need human oversight, even with these, super sophisticated AI systems.
It's huge. And it all goes back to the core argument, right? We're talking artificial intelligence, but we absolutely need human intelligence in the mix, especially when it comes to ethics.
It's not about replacing humans, then, but finding the right way to balance human judgment with what AI can do. Speaking of balance, the book gets into specific ways AI is being used in finance, credit scoring, fraud detection, even analyzing market sentiment, which is that even possible?
Oh, it's getting there. They talk about how AI can analyze news articles, social media posts, even transcripts of earnings calls to figure out how people are feeling about the market, taking its pulse, but instead of a stethoscope, it's an algorithm.
Okay, that is both really cool and kind of creepy. Shows how fast this tech is moving. But those advancements, they come with bigger ethical questions, don't they?
For sure. And that leads to a question that Ethical Profits keeps asking. What does ethical profit actually mean now in the age of AI? It can't just be about making money. It has to be about doing it transparently, fairly, and in a way that actually benefits society,
Which I think is something you've been wrestling with yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can these financial institutions balance making money with having a purpose, especially as AI gets more powerful?
It's the big question, and Ethical Profits doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. It dives right into economic inequality, data privacy, AI being used to manipulate markets, all the worries people have.
No punches pulled, but it doesn't leave us with a sense of doom and gloom either, right? There are solutions, ways to actually tackle these things.
That's the key. They present a multi-pronged approach, right? Stronger regulations, more collaboration within finance itself, and a way bigger focus on ethical AI development from the ground up. They see a future where AI, blockchain, even human ingenuity can all work together.
A future where we're not just along for the ride, but actually steering the ship. I like it.
That's the spirit of it. It's not about watching this happen. It's about taking charge of how AI shapes finance and ultimately the world. The book argues that this isn't just, the right thing to do, but it makes good business sense in the long run.
Now, when it comes to AI and finance, I've always found algorithmic trading a bit unsettling, to be honest. These algorithms are making trades in the blink of an eye, reacting to the market way faster than any human ever could.
It's wild, isn't it?
It is. It's are we creating a monster we can't control?
That's a fear for sure. The book spends a good chunk of time on high-frequency trading, which I think embodies this whole potential and peril thing with AI in finance.
Yeah, unpack that for me.
So the speed. The precision, it's remarkable. Fractions of a second to execute a trade, reacting to these tiny market movements that, to us, would be invisible.
It's mind-bogglingly fast, but it feels like that speed, that efficiency, it's come at a cost, hasn't it? It's like we've created this system that's too fast, too complex for us to even fully grasp, let alone control.
That's a concern the book doesn't shy away from at all. While this high-frequency trading does help with making the markets more liquid, which is good, it also brings up big concerns about fairness and systemic risk.
Because if these algorithms are making split-second decisions based on tons of data, the average investor, they don't have access to that, right?
Exactly. It creates this uneven playing field. And then there's the systemic risk aspect, which the book digs into. If you have all these algorithms reacting to each other at lightning speed, you have this very real possibility of cascading failures, which honestly could destabilize entire markets in a flash.
That's a scary thought. It's like we're building a financial system on a foundation of algorithms that even the smartest people can't fully predict or control. Makes you wonder, are we in control of this technology, or is it starting to control us?
It's the question more and more people are asking, and it's one Ethical Profits really wants us to grapple with. It's not about abandoning AI, but understanding its potential impact, good and bad, and making sure we're using it in a way that lines up with our values. It's like this thread running through the whole book, this idea that we're at a crossroads with AI in finance. We can't just be passive observers while these algorithms reshape everything. We need to be involved, make sure things go in a direction that aligns with our values.
Yes, Ethical Profits argues that financial professionals themselves have a huge role to play in this, right?
100%. The book makes it very clear. AI is going to change how they work, but it's not going to replace them entirely. Actually, it argues their role becomes even more critical in an AI-driven world.
Okay, interesting. So how do they see that playing out?
They use this phrase, ethical gatekeepers, which I think is really fitting. They're not just number crunchers anymore. They need to understand the ethical implications of the AI they're using, They're the ones responsible for making sure those systems are used responsibly and not causing harm, not making existing inequalities even worse.
So it's a shift then from being data-driven to being ethically driven. It's not just finance and tech skills anymore, but a deep understanding of ethics as well.
Exactly. They bridge the gap, right, between these complex algorithms and how those algorithms actually impact people's lives in the real world. And they have to be able to explain those decisions, not just to their bosses, but to clients, regulators, maybe even the public.
It's like a whole new profession emerging, the ethical technologist. Someone who gets finance, gets tech, and gets ethics. And the book suggests this expertise won't just be important within financial institutions themselves, but for regulators too, right?
Oh, absolutely. As AI in finance gets more powerful and more complex, regulators will need to deeply understand it just to do their jobs. They set the rules, the guardrails to make sure AI is used responsibly and consumers are protected.
Which is a huge responsibility. Makes you wonder, are our regulatory bodies actually equipped for this right now? Are they moving fast enough to keep up with this tech, which seems to change every day?
$1 million question. And the book wrestles with it too. It argues that we need a completely different approach to regulating AI, something more agile, more adaptive, something that doesn't rely so much on the old ways of doing things.
So we need to regulate the way AI is developed, making sure ethical considerations are baked in right from the start.
Right. The book even suggests using AI to regulate AI, a system of checks and balances that can keep up with how fast this tech is evolving.
Whoa. That's both fascinating and a little unnerving. Using AI to regulate AI sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But that's where we are, honestly. It highlights the speed at which things are changing and how hard it is to regulate something this complex and this powerful. And the book is very clear. This isn't just a tech challenge, it's a societal one. We need a real conversation, everyone, about what future we want AI to create and how we make sure that future benefits everyone.
And not just the experts either, right?
100%. That's a core message in the book. We all have a stake in this AI revolution. We all have a role to play in shaping how this tech is used and developed, and it starts with understanding what's at stake.
So it's about giving people the tools, the knowledge to be informed citizens when it comes to AI, even if they're not, coding whizzes themselves.
Exactly. These aren't just technical issues. They're social issues. They're ethical issues. They're human issues. We all have skin in the game.
Now, one area that's super important when we're talking about ethical AI in finance is data privacy. The book really digs into how AI's reliance on huge amounts of data creates a whole new set of ethical dilemmas. AI needs data to learn, to get better. But that data often belongs to real people, and using it without their knowledge or consent, that's a problem.
Exactly the tightrope the book walks. It argues that protecting data privacy in the age of AI isn't just about following the rules, it's about upholding these fundamental directives, like preserving human dignity and autonomy.
Because, let's be honest, our financial data is incredibly personal, right? It reveals so much about us, our habits, our choices, our values, and the idea of that data being collected, analyzed, and used by algorithms without our explicit consent, it feels wrong.
Totally. The book talks about this case study, a fintech company using AI to analyze customers' social media activity, right, to figure out their creditworthiness. They weren't taking financial data directly, but they were using social media to infer financial information, and people were not happy about it. Big backlash.
Wow, that is a slippery slope. Really shows why financial institutions need to be upfront about how they use data, especially with AI involved.
Transparency is key. The book hammers that home. Financial institutions, they have to be open with customers. What data are they collecting? How are they using it? What for? And they need to give people control. Opting out, having their data deleted, whatever. Empowerment is key.
It's about giving individuals more agency in a world where data is becoming so valuable and potentially invasive.
And it builds trust, which is essential. If people don't trust that their data is being handled responsibly, ethically, they won't share it. And without data, these AI systems, they just don't work.
It's a two-way street then. AI needs data, but that data needs to be treated with respect, transparency.
Yeah.
So people keep providing it. Now, one thing I found really interesting is how the book talks about AI potentially making the financial system more inclusive, more ethical. It's a hopeful thought.
It's a really cool concept, and they lay out a few ways this could actually happen. One of the big ones is using AI to democratize financial services.
So making financial tools and advice available to everyone, not just the wealthy.
Exactly. They talk about robo-advisors powered by AI, right? Providing personalized advice, managing investments, but at a fraction of the cost of a human advisor. That's huge for people who have been traditionally excluded from finance, like low-income individuals or those in underserved communities.
It's like leveling the playing field, making sure everyone has the tools to achieve their financial goals.
Spot on. And it doesn't stop there. The book also talks about AI for financial literacy and education. Imagine a platform, AI-powered, that teaches you about budgeting, investing, managing your money. But it's tailored to you, your learning style, how much you already know.
Like having a personal finance tutor, available 24/7.
Exactly. It's a really exciting possibility. And what the book emphasizes is that AI doesn't have to just automate finance. It can actually humanize it.
That's a powerful idea. Using technology to make finance more human-centered. Now, I'm curious how all of these technologies could potentially work together. We've talked about AI, but the book also mentions blockchain. Even quantum computing. It's a lot.
It paints a very different picture of finance, that's for sure. And what's interesting is that the book doesn't see these technologies as replacing each other, but as working together, complementing each other to reshape the industry.
So how do they all fit together?
Well, take blockchain, for example. The book talks about how its transparency and security could be really valuable for making sure AI is used ethically.
So blockchain could be like a watchdog for AI, making sure it's honest and accountable.
Exactly. Imagine a world where every decision an AI makes in finance is recorded on a blockchain, right? Unchangeable public record. Makes it much harder to hide unethical or discriminatory practices.
That would be huge for transparency and accountability.
Right. And because it's decentralized, blockchain could also help level the playing field, giving smaller players more power, preventing a few big corporations from controlling everything.
So it could lead to a more equitable and democratic financial system, which is a major theme in the book. Now, what about quantum computing? That still feels like something out of Star Trek to me.
It's pretty mind-blowing, no doubt. It's still early days, but the book suggests that quantum computing has the potential to revolutionize tons of different aspects of finance, including AI.
How so? I'm going to be honest, I don't totally get how it even works.
It is pretty complex. Basically, quantum computers can do calculations at speeds that are impossible for even the most powerful computers we have now, which means they could unlock, like, a whole new level of speed and complexity for AI algorithms. We could use them to solve problems that are totally impossible right now.
So it's like giving AI a massive power boost, which is exciting and a little scary all at the same time.
Exactly. The book talks about how it could lead to breakthroughs in risk assessment, optimizing portfolios, fraud detection, but there are risks, big ones.
Like what?
For one, it might be even harder to understand and control AI once it's running on quantum computers. If it's already hard to explain how some AI algorithms work now, imagine trying to do it with one running on a quantum computer. We could end up relying on systems we don't fully grasp, and that could have unintended consequences.
It's like giving someone the keys to a super fast car when they don't know how to drive.
Perfect analogy. The book is very clear. We need to be cautious, deliberate, think about the ethical implications very carefully before we unleash this technology.
It's a good reminder that even as we're amazed by what these technologies can do, we can't forget about the potential downsides.
Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about the 7 directives themselves. As we've mentioned, the book is very secretive about the details, which honestly is kind of frustrating.
Like they gave us a treasure map, but half the landmarks are missing. But based on what we do know, what can we infer about these directives?
Well, we know the first one is the most important. It's all about protecting human life and dignity, which tells us that any way we use AI in finance should ultimately benefit people and society.
It's not just about profits then. It's about people.
Exactly. And the second directive backs that up. It says that no other goal or mission can supersede the first. So it's like a hierarchy. Ethical considerations are at the top. They come before everything else, even making money.
It's like they're saying, look, we know you're in the business of making money, but there are some lines you just don't cross.
Exactly. And the rest of the directives, they're a bit of a mystery still, but the overall vibe is about responsibility, transparency, preventing harm. It's like a moral compass for using AI in finance.
A compass pointing towards a future where we use AI not just to make money, but to actually make the world a better place.
That's the goal.
It's an inspiring vision. Now, I want to talk about the book's vision for the future of finance as a whole. It paints a picture of a world where AI, blockchain, all these emerging technologies have totally transformed how things work.
And what's really interesting is how the book balances optimism with caution. It acknowledges the potential of these technologies' efficiency, accessibility, even creating a more equitable system. But it also warns about the risks of just blindly innovating without thinking about the consequences.
It's not about rejecting technology. It's about using it thoughtfully, being aware of the potential downsides.
Absolutely. And it emphasizes that the future isn't set in stone. It's shaped by the decisions we make today. They outline a few trends, possibilities that could define this future, and it starts with AI being integrated into everything.
So we're talking about AI not just for trading or catching fraud, but for things like everyday banking, getting loans, even making sure companies are following regulations.
All of it. They talk about a world where everyone has a personalized AI financial advisor, tailoring investment strategies to their goals, their risk tolerance. We might see AI handling loan applications, deciding who gets credit, hopefully more efficiently and fairly.
That's interesting how AI could make financial services more accessible to everyone.
Exactly. Democratizing finance. It's a big theme in the book. But, and there's always the but, the book also cautions that we have to watch out for unintended consequences. Like, if we're not careful, these AI systems could make existing biases even worse, even create new forms of discrimination.
We have to be careful, make sure these systems are designed fairly, not just to be efficient and profitable.
100%. The book also talks about AI being used to help with regulatory compliance. Like, imagine AI that can monitor transactions, flag suspicious activity, even predict potential violations before they happen.
That would be a game changer for regulators. It feels like they're always playing catch-up, trying to stay ahead of all the latest financial innovations.
It could be huge, but, and this is a big one, who regulates the AI? As these systems get more complex, more independent, it gets a lot harder for humans to understand and oversee them.
So we're back to that idea of baking ethics into the AI itself, making sure it's not just following the letter of the law, but actually making decisions that we'd consider ethical.
Precisely. And the book argues that we might need a whole new approach to regulation, one that's more flexible and adaptable than what we have now. Maybe even, like we talked about before, using AI to regulate AI.
It's complicated stuff. It's clear that we're just getting started.
Okay.
Now, before we wrap things up, I wanted to touch on something else. The book stresses education and awareness. It's like they're saying we need to prepare for this AI-driven future, not just by learning technical skills, but by becoming more ethically aware.
It's huge. The book argues that we need to raise a generation that's financially and ethically literate, ready to deal with this new world. That means talking about AI and ethics at every level of education, from elementary school to university.
So it's not just about teaching kids how to code, it's teaching them how to think critically about the impact of technology on society.
Exactly. And it's not just formal education either. The book talks about awareness campaigns, media literacy programs, community dialogues. We need to get everyone involved in these conversations.
It's about creating a society that's informed, engaged, not just passively consuming whatever technology is put in front of them.
Yes. And it's about recognizing that we all have a responsibility to make sure AI in finance is used ethically, that it benefits everyone.
It's a big challenge for sure, but it's one we need to take seriously if we want to shape a future where AI in finance is a force for good. Now, one of the things that really stuck with me from the book is this idea of ethical profit. What exactly does that even mean?
That's a great question. And the book's take on it is really interesting. It's not just about maximizing profits for shareholders. It's about looking at the bigger picture. How do financial decisions impact society and the environment? True profitability, according to the book, isn't just about the bottom line. It's about social and environmental good.
So it's not just about making money. It's about making a positive difference.
Exactly. And they say that achieving ethical profit requires a different way of thinking. It means valuing transparency, fairness, thinking long-term. Financial institutions need to consider the social and environmental impact of their decisions, not just how much money they're making.
That's a pretty tall order, but it sounds like a challenge worth taking on.
It is, and it's not just about being altruistic. The book actually argues that ethical profit is good for business. Consumers are demanding companies that are ethical, sustainable, and investors are seeing the value in putting their money into companies that are socially responsible.
So in a way, doing the right thing is also the smart thing.
Exactly. Ethical profit is a win-win. It creates a more just and equitable world and a more sustainable and prosperous economy.
It's a compelling argument. Now, what are some ways companies can actually go about achieving ethical profit?
The book lays out a bunch of strategies, like making sure ethical considerations are included from the very beginning when designing AI systems, making AI decision-making processes more transparent and accountable, giving individuals more control over their data and their financial decisions, investing in education and raising awareness to promote financial and ethical literacy, and working together, corporations, governments, researchers, everyone, to figure out ethical guidelines and regulations for AI in finance.
So it's not just one thing, it's a bunch of things working together, recognizing that everyone has a role to play.
Right. And it's not just about implementing these strategies, it's about creating a culture where everyone's thinking about the ethical side of things.
So again, it's not just rules and regulations, it's about changing the entire mindset, right?
Yeah.
Making sure ethical considerations are front and center always.
Exactly. And it starts from the top. CEOs, boards of directors, they set the tone, showing everyone else that they're committed to ethical AI. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk, right?
Totally. And creating a workplace where people feel comfortable speaking up about ethical concerns, where doing the right thing is rewarded, not punished.
That's the key. Building a culture of integrity, where doing the right thing is just what you do. Now, another idea from the book I found really interesting was human-in-the-loop AI. It seems like a big part of their vision for the future.
Yeah, what is that exactly?
So it's about finding that balance. You know, we recognize what AI is good at, speed, processing information, but we also acknowledge its limits. It doesn't have judgment, empathy, that human sense of right and wrong.
It's about finding the sweet spot where AI and human intelligence work together, each playing to their strengths.
Exactly. They see a future where AI handles the routine, data-heavy stuff, which frees up human professionals to focus on more complex, nuanced tasks. Building relationships, offering strategic guidance, dealing with those ethical dilemmas, the things AI just isn't equipped for.
So AI becomes a tool to make humans better, not a replacement.
Right. The book has some really interesting examples of how this could work in different areas of finance.
Give me one. I'm curious.
Okay, so imagine you've got an AI financial advisor. It analyzes your finances, figures out what you should invest in, maybe even executes the trades for you. But, and this is the important part, instead of doing everything itself, it shows its recommendations to a human financial advisor who looks them over, takes into account your specific situation, your goals, your values.
So the AI does the number crunching, the analysis, but the human advisor makes the final call. using their expertise in ethical judgment.
Exactly. And they see this being used in all sorts of ways. Loan applications, credit scoring, fraud detection, managing risk.
It's a really compelling model. You get the power of AI, but you don't lose that crucial human element.
And the book makes the case that this human-in-the-loop approach is essential if we want to use AI ethically in finance. As long as there are humans involved in making the decisions, we can be more confident that those decisions align with our values, and we're much more likely to catch any ethical issues before they become a bigger problem.
It's like a safety net, right? Making sure we're not just blindly trusting the algorithms.
Totally. They give this great example of a bank using an AI system to spot potentially fraudulent transactions. It was super accurate, but it kept flagging a way higher number of transactions from certain demographics.
Oh, wow. So even though it was good at its job identifying fraud, it was still reflecting and perpetuating existing biases.
Exactly. And because they had humans-involved analysts who reviewed the AI's flags, they were able to see this bias and correct it before any real harm was done.
That's a perfect example of why this human oversight is so important. We can't just assume that AI will be objective, unbiased, just because it's based on data and algorithms.
Exactly. And it shows how important diversity is when we're building and using these systems. The more diverse the team, the more likely they are to spot those hidden biases that might not be obvious to everyone.
It reminds us that technology doesn't just exist on its own. It's a reflection of the people who create it, the people who use it, and the values of society.
The book really emphasizes that ethical AI isn't just about building better algorithms. It's about building a better world. It's about using these tools to empower people, do good, create a future where everyone has a chance to thrive.
It's a powerful message.
Yeah.
And definitely a lot to think about.
Yeah. It's a huge task, but someone's got to do it right. And the book lays out a few concrete things we can all actually do, like right now. First and foremost, educate yourself. The more you understand about AI and how it works, the better equipped you'll be to have those conversations, to advocate for change. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. So what can we do with that knowledge?
Well, a lot, actually. Like, support organizations doing good work in this space. There are groups out there pushing for ethical AI, more transparency, holding these companies accountable. Even just getting their message out there, sharing it online makes a difference.
Putting our money where our mouth is. I like it.
And at the end of the day, don't underestimate your own power as a consumer, as a citizen, right? Ask your bank, your financial advisor, even your elected officials, how are they dealing with the ethical side of AI in finance? Demand better. Right. Demand transparency, demand accountability, support the folks who are actually trying to do things the right way.
Using our voices, our choices, to push for a future where technology serves us, not the other way around. You know, it really struck me reading Ethical Profits how they emphasize this as a global challenge. Yeah. It's not enough for just a few countries or companies to say we're using AI ethically. We need everyone on board.
It's one of their main points. AI in finance doesn't care about borders. Our financial systems are global. Data moves freely between countries. Algorithms making decisions in one place can impact the entire global economy. It's all connected.
We're all in this together, which is a little daunting when you think about it. The decisions we make about AI now have a global impact.
No pressure, right. And the book argues that if we're not careful, we could end up in a race to the bottom. Ethics get thrown out the window in the name of profit, competition.
And we're looking for a quick buck.
Exactly. So they say we need global norms, global standards for using AI in finance.
Like a set of ethical principles for AI everyone agrees on. A digital Geneva Convention, almost.
Love that. Of course, the book acknowledges this is not going to be easy. Getting everyone on the same page is going to take a lot of open conversations, collaboration, some give and take, no doubt. But they say it's essential if we want AI to benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Well, that's a lot to digest for sure, and it feels like we're just at the very beginning of this journey. But I'm glad we took the time to dive into Ethical Profits today. It gives us a way to think about these challenges, and it lights a fire under us to do something.
Totally. It reminds us that we have a choice. We might not be able to predict the future, but we can shape it. And that starts with being informed, engaged, and willing to challenge the status quo.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We hope you learned a lot, and more importantly, that you feel inspired to join this incredibly important conversation and help create a future where AI in finance is a force for good. Thanks for listening.